So we're going to sketch this graph, state the domain and range. First of all, can we factor the top? Yes. It is x minus 4 minus 1. Can you factor the bottom? Maybe. Good answer. What do you do when you have things that are sort of backwards? Like instead of x minus 1, it's 1 minus x. You can factor out a negative. And if we factor out a negative, all of a sudden, we get an x minus 1 on the bottom as well. So it is important to factor out that negative because these will simplify. What is our non-permissible value? X can't equal 1. Is that a vertical asymptote or a hole? It is a hole. The hole is going to be at 1 comma something. Well, if those things cancel out and I rewrite the equation, what will my new equation be? It'll be, what'll be left on the top of my fraction? X minus 4. What's left on the bottom of my fraction? Negative 1. With that negative 1 on the bottom, how can I write this? I'll put an arrow here instead of an equal sign. Negative x plus 4. So that's my new equation. So when x is 1, where's my hole going to be? At 1 comma 3. Plug in 1 for x. So we've got a hole at 1 comma 3. Look at our new equation. Our new equation is negative x plus 4. What is that? That's a line. And since it's a line, you know how to graph a line already. Do lines have horizontal asymptotes or oblique asymptotes? No. So at this point, we can just graph it. And this was what I was talking about earlier. If you would look at the original equation, what's the highest power of x? The highest degree is a 2. So if we look at that, we have an x squared on the top and no x squareds on the bottom, which is not possible. And this is generally what would tell us that we have an oblique asymptote. We'll get to that. We'll get some in our notes today. But because it's simplified to something that we know how to graph, we know how to graph a line, and a line doesn't have an oblique asymptote. We don't have to worry about that in this situation. So we go to graph it. What we do know is we have a hole at 1 comma 3. Our slope is negative 1, so down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1. And there is our final graph. Question number 3 for homework, we still have to do domain and range. Our domain is going to be that x can't equal 1, but x can equal everything else. Our range is going to be that y can't equal 3, but y can be anything else. If you wanted to write these in interval notation, you could write it from negative infinity to 1, not including 1, so a round bracket, and then start again at 1 and go to infinity. Same thing. But in this case, the set notation, just writing x can't equal 1 is a lot easier.